Hi friends, welcome to another conversation. Today we want to talk a little bit about little kid parenting.
That's it.
Something we're not doing at the moment, so we feel like, we got the gray hairs,
Yeah.
at least I do, and so we're entitled.
Well, actually, there's a lot of families here in Danthonia who have little children at the moment, and we get the joy of having them run in and out of our house at times, especially my great niece from my nephew.
I still struggle with the whole idea of you being a great anything in relation to a person. But,
I know.
But no, please continue.
Yeah. So we were just thinking we would share some of the things that we learned when we were in the trenches of little kid parenting.
I think it's important to emphasize that everything that we're talking about also comes out of our own experience raising a family within the context of our Bruderhof community, and the support and love and care that families receive here is second to none. And we acknowledge that not every family has that benefit, but still I think there's a lot that we can together do to encourage one another as we're looking to do the very best for our children.
Right, and I think the first thing that we need to accept is the mess.
That's capital T, capital M,
Yes.
the mess.
Because when we welcome little children into our lives, it's like your whole life is put into a blender, right? Everything just goes in there and it's on and it's like brrrr. And basically, is that right? Basically, you have to accept a pretty big level of chaos and disorder and things not going to plan. Suddenly, we have to start letting go of a lot of ideals about how our house should look, what our schedule should be, because the little kids run on their own schedule and have needs and wants that we can't even imagine.
Some even have schedules.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's great. And
Yeah.
I think, so say goodbye to perfection and don't worry about perception.
True.
Our true and our real friends don't care about the outer look and feel of a place. They care about us and the people in our homes, and that's what ultimately makes your house a home. It's not about, did you polish the ceiling?
Yeah, and you were so great at helping me find the humor in the things that didn't go to plan.
Thank you for saying I was great at that, because often in real time it was like, you're so insensitive.
Sorry.
Ray Romano, the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond, he says that having kids is like living in a frat house. Nobody sleeps, everything's broken, and there's a lot of throwing up.
Touche. And I guess along with the humor is to just overall enjoy the ride.
Or hang on for it.
Well said, yeah. And try not to look too far ahead and just live in the moment, live in that day, because that's how children are, and they don't look far down the track. We shouldn't either.
We're not really in control of any of it, so just accept that, right? And just don't make it an issue. And anyway, who wants to have a control freak for a parent? So just step at a time, do the little things. And part of that was also managing expectations around what are achievable things for our family, what are outcomes that we're looking for. And for us, it meant scaling things back or learning to and being encouraged to by the people that we trusted. We'll get to that in a sec. To just kind of slow our pace down, stay closer to base, stay closer to home, and really, scale things to our kids' level and abilities.
And once we started doing that, we realized we were treasuring the cuddles, the lullabies, building better bedtime routines and rhythms around the table that were more suited to the expectations and abilities of our kids rather than our own expectations of what our life should look like.
I'll say for me as a young dad, just accepting that and welcoming the fact that I was going to do a lot of sitting around when my kids were small, just being there for them, having them next to me, reading them a story or whatever it was, and that I wasn't going to be spending so much time out on the ball field or playing hoops. Those are adjustments that you kind of have to also take on board and shift your priorities on.
Absolutely, and they're difficult adjustments to initially make, but then they're very rewarding when those rhythms of work, play, rest, cleaning up yet another mess.
Repeat.
Hold your nose, repeat. Those things become treasured routines.
This next point may be fairly obvious, but it's probably easier said than done, and that's just the idea that we should welcome help and acknowledge that we need it. We were fortunate when our sons were little that we had very dear friends here at our Danthonia community who were more than willing to share from their vast resources of knowledge. They'd raised a large family. It just took us being, I guess, humble enough to talk to them and saying, look, we're having a little trouble with, Junior Birdman on this and this point. How would you handle that? And amazing then what you can do when you sort of pool that knowledge and implement it.
Another huge gift that our mentors and foster grandparents gave us was to invite us over for a meal when our kids were little, and they would accept us just as we were, with our kids, you know, needing to hop on the toilet or, you know, make a mess at the mealtime, and just offer us hospitality in a safe and gracious space. And that is a huge gift that those of us who don't have little kids can give to other families now. Okay, we've saved the most important point for last, and that is stay connected to your spouse. And it's the most important because when that connection and when that groundedness is working well, the parenting journey is a lot sweeter. Yeah,
and it's not a 50-50 proposition. You know, just like a marriage, parenting takes 100% effort from both parties.
Yeah. And so often we're both sleep deprived. We have both working jobs. We're both, you know, going like, who is this little person, you know, who has yet another earache or a fever, and to find the love and connection with each other, and that flows on then throughout the house.
I think sometimes we underrate what it's like to take two people from completely disparate families, bring them together and start a new family.
Totally wild.
Your family did a wonderful job as a family.
In our own way.
In your own way, yeah. as did mine, but very differently.
Totally, yep.
And so what I might have thought was a normal response to a situation with our kids didn't necessarily align with the way you were going to handle it. Have I put that carefully?
Yes, no, it's totally true. And any marriage is a collision of cultures. I don't care, you know, it just is. And then you know, add some kids in the mix and stir.
Back to that blender you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so the connection, and we found it was really important to take time, make time where we could just be together without the children.
Yeah, and before we get to that though, I just want to say on what we were just talking about a second ago, and that is that, you know, when we were trying to work through approaches to problem solving with the kids or whatever, we found it really vital that our kids not see us argue in front of them.
Yes.
And that continues to be the case.
Absolutely. We step behind the mineral deposit.
May I have a word with you privately?
Look that one.
Just on the other side of this mineral deposit. Follow me.
One of the ways we used to stay connected when the kids were super small was we would feed them their dinners and do the whole bedtime routine and tuck them into bed, get them settled, and then Chris and I would head to the kitchen together. We would cook a beautiful meal and we would sit down and eat it together. Light the candles, pour the wine, and just connect.
Hang out with my best friend and pretend we're adults again for a little bit. You know?
Is that spit up on your shoulder?
So we hope you find a few takeaways from this conversation. If you're at the beginning of the parenting journey, God bless you. Thank you for the effort and the time that you're putting in. And for those of us who are a little further along with raising our kids, let's be alongside those who have the little people and do what we can, because heaven only knows it takes everybody pulling together to raise children in this amazing and crazy world.
Yeah, that and loads of laughter, connectedness, and grace.
Yep. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for subscribing. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Drop us a comment, join the conversation, and talk to us about what other videos in this vein you might enjoy. I think you had an idea for one on lullabies coming up soon.
Yes, we want to share some lullabies.
Don't put you to sleep, though. We'll see you next time.
Talk soon.
Yeah, and it's a bit like holding hands when you cross the street. You know, that way when the truck comes and takes you out, you both go together, because parenting a lot of the time is just like getting obliterated.
Yeah, and you have to stay like...
That was really bad.
No, it was good. No. Well, it's true. Like...